Guys, welcome back to the Always in Season podcast. The trade deadline is less than 6 hours away. We had a very fun week of football yet again. So, like always, we'll start with our weekly breakdown. Starting with Thursday Night Football, the Jets finally broke their 5 game losing streak. They beat the Texans 21-13. Rodgers had a good second half, a horrible first half. He had like 30 yards in the first half. He went 22 of 32, 211, 3 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson went 9 for 90 with 2 touchdowns. He had a ridiculous catch that helped them win. Stroud struggled again, but he got sacked 8 times. So, how did the Jets capitalize off this and make a run? Can they?
Yeah, I mean, they have to take that energy with them. They play the Cardinals this week, who are nothing to sneeze at. I mean, they're a formidable team with a lot of talent. What's tough for this game is that they did not look like a good team. Still, they won, which
Yeah.
is great, and congrats to them for getting that win. Garrett Wilson really, with 2 amazing catches,
Yeah.
really led them to that win. Rodgers looked really rough in the first half, a little better in the third quarter, and then really a lot better in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter. But there's still a problem there.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, they won, they're back, they're looking like a good team, because they're not. So they need to make sure that all the mistakes that they're still making, all the problems they still have, that they're figuring those out in order to go on the run, because they can't just assume that they're going to be able to beat every team
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they can do it,
Mhm.
but it's going to take a lot of work. It's not just some
Yeah.
easy fix.
I will say, like the energy on the sidelines, like the vibes were definitely better.
Yeah.
But
In the
yeah,
second
they
half.
have in the second half they have a long way to go. It's like the Bills they're going to win their division, but the rest of the division is rough. But
Yeah.
the AF they have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, for sure. Next up we have Saints Panthers. Panthers won 23-22. Carr was 18 for 31, 236 yards on a touchdown. Kamara had 29 carries for 155 yards, and he also was their leading receiver with 60 yards. Taysom Hill had a rushing touchdown. Shamar Jean Charles had an interception. Bryce Young, meanwhile, was 16 of 26 for 171 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Hubbard had 15 carries, 72 yards, but he did get 2 touchdowns. And Sanders had 4 receptions for 87 yards, and Leggett had a receiving touchdown. My question: Cam Jordan said on Twitter that his goal at this point was to go 500. Is that one, an achievable goal, and two, a good goal to have?
I mean, I don't think it's achievable. I think that like obviously like we'll get into the Dennis Allen situation later, but like you kind of saw how he reacted after the game. Cam Jordan. It's just like I think the morale around that team is like you lose 7 games, nobody's going to be happy. It's going to be hard to get back to 500 because you're talking you have to go what 7-1.
You have to win
Essentially,
all
yeah,
of your
yeah, you have
games.
to win all your games. So I don't know. I don't think that's a realistic goal. I think there's different things that they need to work on as they kind of transition to a new coach. But their cap situation is not great. They're kind of really they're pretty stuck right now. So I think that they need to look at different goals aside from just getting to 500.
Yeah.
The Commanders beat the Giants 27-22. Uh, Jane Daniels went 15 of 22, 209, 2 touchdowns. Daniel Jones threw a touchdown in MetLife in like 600
That was
days.
fun.
20 of 26, 174, and 2 touchdowns. So he played pretty well. Is Jane Daniels the lock for Offensive Rookie of the Year?
I don't know if you can have a lock yet, but he's the clear front runner,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's a close race right now. So he would have to do a lot, or other players would have to do a lot to change it
Yeah.
right now. But
Yeah.
I mean, he's looked great. He hasn't looked like a rookie in a lot of ways. They clearly have their star.
Right.
So Dolphins Bills 130-27. Tua has been looking fantastic.
Yeah.
25-28, 231 yards and 2 touchdowns. Devon Achane had 12 carries, 63 yards on a touchdown. Hill had 4 receptions for 80 yards, and Ramsey had a pick. Josh Allen was 25 for 39, 235 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Cook had 10 carries for 44 yards, and Davis 2 receptions for 70 yards and a touchdown. My question is, who is to blame for the Dolphins' inability to finish games? Because this is back-to-back
Yeah.
weeks where they had a game-winning field goal walk-off. The other team did.
Yeah.
And we've seen that throughout the season.
I think that like this week, I mean, you have to give a lot of credit to the Bills. Josh Allen, it's like he's playing phenomenal right now. But I don't know. It's hard to not point at the coach. I don't know, but it's just like Tua was out for so long. You didn't win a game while he was out, and he's still trying to figure it out. It's really tough. Like these are two brutal losses that if they win these 2 games, they're in a whole different situation. But yeah, I think it kind of starts with the coaching staff. I think Tua's played well. Like the weapon, like Tyreek played pretty good. Achan played all right. So I just think it comes down to execution, and that starts with the coaching staff. The Chargers beat the Browns 27-10. Justin Herbert 18 of 27, 282, two touchdowns. Jameis 26 of 46, 235, a touchdown and three picks. Chargers look good once again. So what is their ceiling? Obviously, they probably won't win the division, but
Yeah. I think they're the kind of team where they're not peaking at the wrong time.
mm,
I think they're having that gradual growth, but you're not seeing too many of the repeated mistakes, or you're at least seeing them minimize each week of the problems they do have. Um, they play the Titans this week, so they should win that
mhm,
game. They will definitely be favored, and I think they play the Bengals after that. I think that's the one that got flexed to Sunday Night
yeah,
Football. So um, I think these next few games are really important for them coming out on top and just seeing those improvements.
mhm.
I think their ceiling though. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team this year. I think.
Can they win a playoff game?
Oh yeah, I believe they can win a playoff game. I definitely think they can win a playoff game. I think their absolute ceiling would be losing the AFC Championship.
Okay.
But I could picture more of a divisional round exit.
Okay.
Patriots Titans. This was a fun game. Titans won 20-17. Drake May was 29-41, 206 yards, a touchdown and two picks. May led rushing, 95 yards. Stevenson had a touchdown for rushing and a receiving touchdown. Henry was 7 receptions for 56 yards, and Tavai had an interception. Mason Rudolph was 20 of 33, 240 yards, two touchdowns and a pick. Pollard 28 carries for 128 yards, and Ridley was 5 receptions for 73 yards, and then Westbrook and Vanette each had a receiving touchdown. Amani Hooker had two interceptions. My question for you is: should the Titans just keep Rudolph as the starter from here on out?
I mean, it's really hard to go back to Levis. I mean, like Patriots, like they're not a great team, but I don't know.
The
I
Titans
just
just look more energized
they
this year,
they
though.
really do. I just think like it's hard to like go back to Levis, but at the same time, like you feel like he's still so young that like he can show that
Mm-hmm.
he can still play. But it's like, I mean, you bailed on Malik Willis, and it's like, are you gonna bail again on the guy that you thought was gonna be like the answer? So I don't know. I have a tough time thinking that they'll they'll bail on him. I think they'll just make sure he's like 110% before they go back to him. The Falcons beat the Cowboys 27-21. Dak went 18 of 24, 133 yards and a touchdown. He did leave with an injury. Kirk went 19 of 24, 222 and three touchdowns. Bijan had 19 carries for 145 total yards. Are the Falcons the clear favorites in the NFC South, or is Tampa still there? You know,
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, the Falcons beat the Buccaneers twice, and the Buccaneers just they're still a great team,
yeah,
but it's just hard with the injuries they have, especially on the opposite side of the football. So I think the Falcons are the favorite, but I probably would have said that going into season two,
mm,
that it was between those two teams. But I like the Falcons. I like the edge a little bit better. I think they're overall, and I don't mean this just head coach, but like their entire coaching staff. I think they are a better
yeah,
coach team. But the Buccaneers still have a lot of fight, and
yeah.
you can see that. And Baker's really, really
Bakers,
great.
yeah.
He's a great leader, and Todd Bowles is a great coach too. So like I think the Buccaneers still have a
Hmm.
chance. The Falcons also have been somewhat inconsistent, where if they drop a game, Buccaneers win two games. Like it's
Yeah.
right back to a competition. But I do think the Falcons have a slight edge, especially because they're 2-0 against
Hmm.
the Bucks. Raiders Bengals won 41-24. Um, Minshew
Mm.
was 10 of 17, 124 yards, and then they benched him for Ritter, 11 of 16, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Aiden O'Connell's still out with an injury. Madison has 9 carries for 36 yards, and White had a rushing touchdown. Myers, 8 receptions, 105 yards, and Brock Bowers had a touchdown. Jones had an interception. Burrow was 27 to 39, 251 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a pick. Brown has 27 carries for 120 yards. Gesicki had 5 receptions, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brown, Sample, and Yosavash all had receiving touchdowns. My question is, can the Bengals make a run through the playoffs?
It's just they need to get the. I mean, this was, I get it's the Raiders. They're not a great team, but like Burrow looked really good. That
He's looked good
offense
all
looked
season.
that yeah, he has looked really good. It's just they've gotten really unfortunate. So I think if they flip their fortune and just like get some calls that go their way, they absolutely can make a run. I think they're a lot better than their record indicates. But there are some. I mean, I think, yeah, that They have to play Pittsburgh yet. They have to play some really tough games. So I think if they can make it out of those games, and I don't know if they'll win their division with Pittsburgh there. It's and
Baltimore.
Baltimore. But yeah, I think they just need a lot of fortunate calls. They've really been unfortunate. I think that's their only way because they've been playing pretty good football. I feel.
Yeah, they play the Ravens this week, so that'll be a big game.
Yeah, big game. The Eagles beat the Jags 28-23. Hurts went 18 of 24, 230 and 2 touchdowns. Saquon went 27 for 159 and a touchdown. Lawrence went 16 of 31, 169 and 2 picks. The Eagles were actually up 22-0, and the Jags had a chance to win it. They did. So I guess who's the most to blame in Jacksonville? Who do you think you point the finger at the most?
I think with the amount of struggles they're having and the variance of struggles they're having, you have to point it at coaching. Um, and I like Peterson, and I think he is a good coach. I don't know if he's lost the locker room, if he's just not as great with like the young team kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, where back in Philly he had a decent amount of veterans,
Yeah.
to help him like lead the locker room
Mm-hmm.
type of deal. I don't know. You also don't always know what's going on inside the building, how his relationship is with the GM or
Mm-hmm.
the owner. Like, there's always those details that can cause strife and
Yeah.
stress in the building. But I do think you have to put it at coaching at this point. I don't necessarily think he's going to get fired midseason, um, unless they really look bad these next
Mm-hmm.
couple weeks. But they will have to do a strong evaluation at the end of the season. And I think he still should continue coaching, though, even if
Yeah.
he isn't here in Jacksonville. Jacksonville has talent. It's just not working out right now.
Yeah.
Bears Cardinals. Cardinals won 29-9. Williams was 22 41, 217 yards, no touchdowns or any picks. Swift was 16 carries, 51 yards. Odunze had 5 receptions for 104 yards. Kyler Murray was 13 of 20, 154 yards. Connors 18 carries, 107 yards. DeMarco, Benson, and McBride all had rushing touchdowns. My question for you is: are the Cardinals the scariest team in the NFC West?
I don't think so because the Niners they don't have McCaffrey yet. I think that once McCaffrey's back, they'll be significantly better than what they are. They've just been so injured. The Cardinals have been pretty healthy and they're 5-4, so it's just like I don't know. I don't think they're the
Fun
scariest.
division.
It's a very fun division because I heard this morning that the Seahawks for the first 8 weeks they were in first place, and then after Sunday now they're in last. So it's like it's a really tough, tight race. I think I'm assuming maybe probably only one team they send one team to the playoffs, but I don't know based on just kind of like the NFC North and other divisions. But I don't know. I think this is more about like how the Bears looked. They looked really bad. They gave up a 53-yard touchdown run with 20 seconds left at the end of the first half. But the Cardinals can, if Harrison and Kyler kind of start to figure it out more, they can definitely string together a few wins and make the division interesting. The Lions beat the Packers 24-14. It was kind of a really horrible game to play in. Goff went 18 of 22, 145 yards and a touchdown. Love went 23 of 39, 273 and a pick. This was kind of a Packers shot themselves in the foot, and it was just kind of just you have to play near perfect football to beat the Lions, and they did not do that. So just are the Lions the clear favorites in the NFC right now?
It's so hard to say because I don't think the Packers are scared of the Lions, especially after that game, because the Lions really didn't beat them. The Packers beat themselves
Yeah,
in
and
this
that
game.
yeah,
It wasn't this like, oh my gosh, like last year when they first played the Lions in like week 5,
that
it was
was
just like a complete domination. Packers were not ready. Then they play them again on Thanksgiving. Packers win, and it was much more of a competition. It was much more of like, okay, we're both playing our best. This was like literally penalty, mistake. Packers not playing their football at all.
yeah.
Just sloppy. They just weren't.
It was
They weren't themselves. But the Lions weren't dominating them still. It was literally you
yeah,
could see that the Packers were being themselves. I think the Lions are a great team.
yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if I have them as clear favorites, but I don't know if there is a clear favorite. The Eagles is like they're winning games, they have a
But
good record,
Sirianni
but then
is
but then the coaching and then the Commanders is like, can you put a guy like rookie led quarterback, and then
yeah.
Falcons, are they on the up and up? Like it's really really hard. The Packers, they're still 6-3. They're still a great team,
Hmm.
and they have a bye. Who knows what they're gonna do after the bye? So
Yeah.
I think the Lions are the favorites right now. I don't think they're clear favorites, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. I don't think that should be the odds are like
Yeah.
100% on their
I
side.
I think that like you saw it obviously like there's a difference in between Sirianni and Dan Campbell, but like
Hmm.
the Eagles were 10-1 last year and then they just fell off a cliff
Yeah.
and they just it was bad. But I think the Lions, the way Dan Campbell has those guys playing, um, they I think if Hutchinson doesn't get hurt, I don't. I mean, they traded for Zadarius Smith this morning, but I don't think him and Hutch are just not. It's not this not the same player at all. But I don't know. The Lions, just the way they're playing, it's really tough for our team to stop them right now. But it's like, can you keep playing that way for 2, 3 more months? We'll see. Because like last year, we saw in the playoffs, like Dan Campbell's decision making at times cost
And you
them.
even saw it in the game against the
If
Packers.
some of those fourth down plays go the different way, it's a whole different ball game. So
Rams Seahawks. Rams won 26-20. This was also a fun game.
yeah.
Stafford's 25-44, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Kyron had 22 carries for 69 yards. Cup had 11 receptions, 104 yards, and Robinson had 2 touchdowns. Kitchens had 2 interceptions. McClellan had 1. Smith was 21 of 34, 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Walker had 25 carries for 83 yards. Smith and Jigba had 7 receptions, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lockett also had a receiving touchdown, and Woolen had an interception. Are the Rams back?
I think it's really entertaining. It's really fun to see how like 2 weeks ago they're like, okay, do we maybe sell?
Yeah. And Puka
That
got ejected.
he did.
Early
He
in the
threw a
game.
punch. I was like, that's crazy. But yeah, I think they're absolutely back. I think McVay and Stafford are. I mean, that's a head coach and quarterback that you want in the postseason. They're a very young defense. They have weapons on offense. Coaching, as we've said all year, goes a long way. And McVay is one of the best in the NFL. So absolutely they're back, and that division is going to be very fun down the stretch. All right, Monday Night Football last night. Chiefs won 30-24 in OT. Mahomes 34-44, 291 and 3 touchdowns. D Hop, their second game as a Chief went 8 for 86 and 2 touchdowns. Baker went 23 of 31, 202 touchdowns. I mean, question is, does the NFL need to change their OT rules? Like, I don't think that's fair.
No. I think that was such a fun game. I think it's fair, and the Buccaneers just looked awful on defense on that drive. Don't change the overtime rules. We always do this every time the Chiefs win in overtime. It's only when the Chiefs win in overtime that we do this. Have you realized that?
I don't like
I
it.
understand
Yeah.
you not liking the rules in general,
College is better. That they do it better. The OT is
Meh.
better.
but
I don't think it's fair.
it's completely fair. You also have 60 minutes of regulation to win the game.
I think the Bucks should have went for
Already.
2. I said before when they scored a touchdown,
All the Chiefs need to do is get into field goal range.
but they didn't.
But that's all they needed to do.
Yeah, but again,
And if they needed that, the Chiefs probably would have gotten it done.
they could have
And the
gotten a field
Buccaneers
goal.
would
They
have
could have
had
gotten
to-
a field goal range and kick a field goal and win it.
And the
in
Buccaneers would
regulation.
have had to get the 2-point
Yeah,
conversion.
that's fair.
That's unlikely too. But I think it was a great game, and I don't think they need to change the overtime rules. If they look at it and they do, I'm not going to be opposed to it.
Yeah.
But my problem is we always raise this question whenever the Chiefs beat the Bills, the Chiefs beat the Buccaneers, Chiefs win in overtime, blah, blah, blah. Shut up. The Chiefs are a good team. They're not playing at their best, but they're still winning games. They are undefeated, and everyone needs to shut up just because it's the Chiefs. And I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm not a Chiefs fan. Of course you want to see fluency throughout the league. You want to see more, like, you don't want to just see the Chiefs win the Super Bowl every year, just like we didn't want to see the Patriots. You don't want to see the same teams. Who wanted the Dodgers-Yankees this year for the playoffs?
right.
Like, come on. Nobody wants that. But that doesn't mean we just change the rules to try. The Chiefs are a great team. Even if we change the overtime rules, they probably win. They're probably still winning.
They probably do, but
Okay?
it's
So
just,
let's just settle down. Let's just settle down. And I just want to say hats off to the Buccaneers for fighting that whole game.
I thought it was gonna get
Injuries
ugly.
they had.
I kind of before the game I was like, this could get ugly
Really?
fast with injuries, but
Nah, Baker's too much of a fighter. You could see it on every run. Oh my gosh. And I'm gonna take it back to Sunday Night Football. Colts Vikings. Vikings won 21-13. Flacco was 16-27, 179 yards on an interception. Taylor was 13 carries, 48 yards. Cross and Franklin each had an interception. Grover strip sacks, fumble recovery for a touchdown. Darnold was 28-34, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Jones was 21 carries for 64 yards. Jefferson 7 receptions, 137 yards. Oliver and Addison each with a receiving touchdown, and Murphy Jr. had an interception. Flacco also made a horrible decision late in the game that literally probably cost them the
Yeah,
game.
it did. Yeah, it was
Where
bad.
wide open in the flat, you saw it. If you're watching
Yeah.
the game, you literally like right there,
First
right there.
down,
It's
first down.
it's exactly it's your number one, but he
Check,
just
yeah.
didn't even look at him. That's not like Flacco. It was like a rookie mistake. And Flacco's a veteran. I was very shocked. But my question is, should the Colts change their offensive play caller? Because it wasn't just that play. There were some other plays where it was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So they already changed their quarterback. Should they change their offensive play caller?
I don't know. I think there were. It's really tough for me to say because, like, I don't know. I feel like it's a different kind of quarterback when you go from Richardson to Flacco. There were some mistakes early on. There was that fumble on their first drive. They didn't have a red zone play at all. I think they would benefit from it. Yeah. I just really was annoyed by all the Colts fans that are like, as any mistake that Flacco made, a missed throw, they're like, oh, go to bench him. I was like Richardson did not look ready. Like the benching was the right move. Like he's not. They're not going to change their mind. Like you
If
just
they do, they're just making it worse for them.
yeah. Like you. I mean, if you go back in a few weeks, it's like if Richardson plays yet this year, I'll be shocked. Unless Flacco were to get hurt.
Yeah.
But like
It would be a bad organization.
it would be.
if
It
they
would
go
be
back.
because it's just like I don't know. And then if Richardson still looks bad, it's like now what? It's just you have to live with the decision that your franchise made and just support it. And the Vikings are a good defense, so that kind of plays into it. But yeah, Flacco, there were some mistakes that they made that just they could have won that game.
100%. Game balls. My offensive game ball. There's a lot of players for offense and defense that could get game balls. I'm not going with the quarterback. I'm not going with the running back, even though there were plenty of quarterbacks, running backs that could get it. I'm going with DeMarcus Robinson because he had 94 yards and he had 2 big time touchdowns in that close game against the Seahawks, the divisional game, and he just looked like you just couldn't stop him. He was going to catch everything. Like it was like I'm dominating, and I just want to give the game ball to him.
Yeah, I had Saquon as mine, and I'm still going to give it to him, but I would give a shout out to D Hop yesterday. Like he looked really good. For his second game, but Saquon went 27 for 199 total yards and 2 touchdowns. He just had a ridiculous backwards hurdle. It's like, you just shake your head.
Eli Manning was saying on the Manningcast last night that he taught him that.
Yeah,
so I'm sure that's true.
Yeah. So now you'll see running backs try to do that, but it won't work out.
Yeah, and like you see hurdles in general when they're going forward that they still hit the guy. They trip over and it's kind of a hurdle. That was a clean. Yeah, backwards.
It's hurdle. Like he basically is like, okay, this is where I think the guy's gonna be, and timed it. It was phenomenal.
That was fun. I got that. The defender's a meme for life now.
Right.
My defensive game ball is Trey Hendrickson, who's actually people have asked me who my least favorite player in the NFL is, and my least favorite player is Trey Hendrickson.
Really?
But I'm giving him a game ball because he had 4 sacks. He had 4 sacks. He was dominating. It doesn't matter who the Raiders have a quarterback. He was going to sack him.
Yeah.
And he's been dominating this league. This season, he leads the league in sacks. So.
I give mine to Cameron Kitchens for the Rams. He had 2 picks, a 103-yard pick six, and a fumble recovery. Like just a great performance from him. Just kind of yeah.
He really helped lead.
He did like that Rams defense. Obviously, they don't have Aaron Donald, but they're just a young defense that is playing pretty well right now.
Okay. I have 2 coaches.
Okay.
Because I want to give it to Dave Canales. Because the Panthers won.
They won. I'm happy for Bryce. I'm so happy for Bryce Young.
They won with Bryce Young.
To see him smiling after the game, I love it.
I know. And he was just so humble too about how much he learned when he was sitting behind Ron. But Canales won, and they won a division game. They won a close game.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
And Derek Carr was healthy. Like it wasn't like they were beating the back. So I want to give it to him. However, it's not like the Panthers looked great still, and they also weren't playing a great team. So my other game ball is, if it's not from the heart of, for Dave Cannell and the Panthers, I'm giving it to Sean McVay. Because they were ready for Seattle, even when Puka came out of there, who they just got back. It's like, no, we're still good.
Yeah.
DeMarcus stepped up. Sean McVay has the team always together. He always has a plan. Even if it doesn't always work out, he's always ready. He doesn't look lost ever on the sideline. And shout out to Sean McVay.
I'm giving mine to Jim Harbaugh. That was a Browns team that came off a big win against the Ravens. They're probably pretty high, and this game was, the Chargers took control early. Herbert is playing some of the best football I've seen him play in a while. He did what I expected him to do. Like their record is, they're above 500. They're in second place. He did what I expect him to do and changed the culture. we'll see what happens down the stretch. But Herbert, I'm sure, is glad to have him as his coach.
Yeah. All right, fantasy. My personal best were Hubbard with 21.2, Dell with 18.6, and Connor with 14.9. Worst were Dobbs with 6.8, Fairbairn with 7, and Brees Hall with 10.5.
My top three: Saquon 32.9, Achan 32.1, and D Hop 28.6. Bottom three were Koo at 3, KC defense had 4, and Ferguson had 14. So.
Overall best, Burrow at 29.14, Saquon, like you said, 32.9. Zay Flowers, 29.7, Gasecki at 27, Kamara at 27.5, Jets defense at 13, and Tyler Bass at 15. Overall worst, Kyler Murray. They won the game, but he only had 4.76 fantasy points. He didn't have like a great game, but it was just a rushing game, and they had 3 rushing touchdowns. Tank Bigsby, who had a big game last week, 2.2 points this week. Xavier Worthy had -1 points. Pittman had 2. Troutman had 1.4. Panthers defense had -2, and Little had 1. So, just as we're seeing with the league and their records, we also see that with fantasy every week, where it's like this, like completely like the best and the worst, you know. But it always changes up, and that's fun. We'll take a little break, and then we'll get into some big weekly news with this trade deadline coming up. All right, so we got the trade deadline, like you said, coming up probably like, what, 5 hours away now?
Just about, yeah.
But we've already had some trades, you know, and we also have some other just like weekly news with injuries and, you know, just the NFL is the NFL. So first up, trade. The Broncos are sending edge rusher Baron Browning to the Cardinals. Arizona will send a 6th-round pick to Denver for Browning. It was 9.5 career sacks. The Broncos also signed outside linebacker Jonathan Cooper to a 4-year contract extension worth up to $60 million with $33.1 million guaranteed, which is one of the reasons Browning was available and is headed to Arizona.
Yeah, I mean Arizona, like they are definitely in a position to make the playoffs, and they're buying as they should be at the deadline.
Yeah. Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown, he left Sunday's game with a knee injury. He avoided anything serious. He's expected to be fine. We'll see what his status is this week against the Cowboys, but
I don't think they'll need him for the Cowboys.
They probably won't, but he should be fine.
Yeah.
But we'll see what they do. The Titans safety, Quandre Diggs, he suffered a season-ending lisophrenic injury during Sunday's game versus the Panthers. He will be out for the rest of the season.
That's tough blow and just.
49ers star running back Christian McCaffrey will return to practice for the first time since going on injured reserve on September 14th with an Achilles injury. If all goes well, McCaffrey could make his season debut as soon as next Sunday versus the Buccaneers.
Yeah, and Schefter was talking about like they for once didn't have any setbacks, and we kind of didn't have a timeline, and now we do. Yeah. We'll see if he can get through practice this week and see what his availability is for Sunday.
We were thinking this would probably happen after the bye.
Yeah.
We were hoping, but glad it's actually happening. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. He was expected to miss several weeks with a hamstring injury and was seeking a second opinion to confirm treatment options. Jerry Jones this morning on the radio, he went to announce that he will be placed on IR, out for 4 games, and 3 of those games are all divisional games. It's the Eagles, then the Texans, so the other team, you know, in your state, and then the Commanders and the Giants.
Yeah.
So that's fun for them.
They might beat the Giants, maybe. I don't know. Cooper Rush didn't look that bad. I'm gonna be honest.
Like, they also have Trey Lance.
They do, yeah.
The Cowboys don't have the same running game that they did when Cooper Rush was.
And then there's the whole Ezekiel Elliott situation too. That, but like CD, I was watching the game and CD, he injured his shoulder late in the game, and any hit he was taking, he was just staying down. I'm like, why is he out there?
Yeah,
I was like,
rough.
But yeah, so I looked like they'll be sticking with Cooper Rush, but yeah, that Dak, I didn't think it was gonna be that bad, and then obviously Dak had like some lip readers caught him. Saying we suck. You know, it's just they're so trapped. Someone said like they're trapped. I'm like, that's a perfect way to describe it between your average quarterback and Dak getting paid a lot a money. CD's getting paid a lot of money. Jerry won't.
And how much is Micah getting paid? Oh, not enough.
Yeah, Micah won't. Yeah, he won't. Yeah, he'll be gone.
I hope so. For his sake.
For his sake, yeah. But yeah, Jerry.
Plus the Eagles get him. That'd be so funny.
But yeah, Jerry's just always has something to say after every game, and it's just like, as a Cowboys fan, you are looking like a long time until your team is any good.
And he did say this morning that they will not be selling the team. So
yeah,
he did say that this morning.
It's rough.
With the Zeke thing that you were alluding to, so he was a healthy scratch for the first time in his career. He had some behaviors that were detrimental to the team. not practicing. He missed like 3 meetings on Friday before the game.
Yeah.
Clearly, just who knows what's going on. We've seen Zeke over the years have some ego problems, I guess you could say. But this was a little surprising because he's not the star that he was,
Yeah.
and the Cowboys are giving him another chance. We don't know what's all going on, but that's still just something to keep an eye on. They have other running backs, though. They do. But, yeah. All right. As you alluded to earlier, Saints fired head coach Dennis Allen. Darren Rizzi is named interim head coach. Called before the season.
Yeah.
I said that he
A
should
lot
have
of
gotten
people
fired
did, yeah.
after last season. And they were like, no, you gonna fire him. They had a mid record. I don't care. You could see the problem. And I said he's gonna get fired this season. He's gonna get fired this season. They're 2-0. Nope, they're still not a good team. He's gonna get fired. 7-game losing streak. Yeah, he got fired.
Yeah, he's like 26-53 as a head coach. Like I think he's a pretty good coordinator, but like some guys just can't be head coaches, and he's just not one of those. So we'll see if he ends up anywhere. But yeah, he should never be a head coach again.
Raiders also fired offensive coordinator Luke Getsy.
Yep. He's bounced around.
He has bounced around, and it's also tough because they've had 3 different quarterbacks now.
Yeah,
so the Raiders are just kind of a mess.
Uh-huh.
The Titans fear starting center Lloyd Cushenberry suffered a torn Achilles during the game versus the Panthers, which would really be rough.
Yeah, I mean, Titans just. I mean, obviously they're not gonna make the playoffs, but still a brutal injury.
Yeah, Bengals fear that promising rookie tight end Eric All Jr. tore his ACL during the game against the Raiders. It's the same knee that he tore his ACL on in October of 2023.
Dang.
Yeah. The Raiders, like we said, they bench Minshew again, and this time for Ritter. So it'll be interesting to see if they go with Ritter, how soon Aidan O'Connell will be back,
What's their
quarterback
plan?
They don't have one.
It's just kind of like, oh, he's not doing well. Let's see how this one works. It's just like you gotta have some consistency there.
Yeah. Now, as we talked about with CeeDee Lamb with the injury, we don't know how serious that is, but the Cowboys are acquiring wide receiver Jonathan Mingo and a 2025 7th-round pick from the Panthers for a 2025 4th-round pick. I will say that the Panthers, or let's just say the Chiefs had to give up less for DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys to get Jonathan Mingo, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Browns traded for pass rusher Zadarius Smith. Or Browns traded their pass rusher Zadarius Smith to the Lions. He tweeted out this morning, so much hate, and then deleted it. And we don't know what that's about.
Yeah, the Lions have fun with that personality.
Zadarius Smith is great, and the thing is, he loved being a Cleveland Brown, even with the losses. Yeah. So I'm not sure what's going on. He should work great in their system. I really do. Yeah. But yeah, he is a very big, loud personality. A lot of fun, a lot of energy. Can also cause some locker room problems. Yes. Bears traded running back Khalil Herbert to the Bengals for a 2025 7th-round draft pick. So some were surprised by that because Khalil was like, oh, he's a Bear star, and then he just kind of fell off. And then the Giants, Browns, Saints, Raiders, Dolphins, Patriots, Panthers, Jags, and Titans all just have 2 wins going into Week 10, so those are your number 1 sellers before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, there were some... Schefter was talking this morning or yesterday, which is about, like, he doesn't think there's going to be a lot of big names that'll be moved. I mean, Zadarius was kind of like, he kind of expected it. Marshawn Lattimore's name has been mentioned. I don't know how much of a seller they're going to be, but, I mean, some big names, like DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, like, these big names have been traded already, and we'll see how aggressive some teams are. I'm sure, the phones, everybody's calling about availability of certain players, and we'll see if any major players get moved in the next couple hours for teams that are pushing for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and last but not least, the big story after last week was Jaden Daniels and the Commanders winning on a Hail Mary against the Bears, and Tyreek Stevenson chirping with fans during the play. There's even pictures and videos of fans being like, go, the play's going, and then he like turns and runs, momentum, he tips the ball, blah, blah, blah. We all know how it ended. Tyreek Stevenson was a starter. Because of the behavior, even though they apologized to the team and that all seemed to go over well, they still removed him from the starting position, has to a backup, at least for this week. They just demoted him. His response to that was taking himself out of practice.
Yeah.
Now there are problems with the locker room. Now he has to win back that trust. Who knows if he will. This is literally the definition of a childish move. It's like the kid who asks their parent, hey, can I have ice cream? The parent's like, no, so the kid starts whining, as if that's going to get them ice cream. No, it's really not. So you lose your starting position because you were a complete
Mm-hmm.
idiot during the game or in the last play of a game, and then your response to that is, okay, I'm gonna pull myself
Yeah.
to practice. You really think that's gonna get your starting position back? Are you kidding me? So, yeah, that was fun to hear.
Yeah.
Who knows what's gonna go on
I
with
just
that?
think it's all about culture. I mean, we talk a lot about Eberflus,
Yeah.
and in the span of a couple weeks, he's really lost that locker room. I feel like even Caleb said after the game on Sunday how like the team didn't move on after that Hail Mary. Like they were still talking about it, and it's like you need to 24 hours later you have to be over it.
The Commanders were over
The
24
Commanders
hours
were over it,
later,
and they
and they talked about that.
yeah. So it's just like, and then Eberflus. I don't know if you saw his post halftime
hmm
talk, whatever it was. Like, I'm sorry if that's what you say to your team. I'm not. I don't want to play for you. Like, I'm not motivated to play for you.
And
It's
he's
just
0 and
it's
18 on
that's
Sunday road
crazy.
games. Yeah.
So it's like, and the thing is, they're 4-4. They have yet to play a divisional game.
Yep, their
Like,
first game
like
is not this
you have
weekend following
arguably
Houston
like you have
Texans.
5 to 6 scheduled losses. Not to say whatever, but there's 3 teams in that division that are like maybe you can sneak 1 or 2 wins, but it's like some teams is just like yeah
It'll be interesting to
yeah
see if they fire Eberflus at all. If they fire him mid-season, if they fire him after the season, like how they handle it. It really will. But look, again, it's happening again. They're doing the carousel that we keep talking about, that we talked about before the season, before they even draft Caleb Williams. I
like
think
yeah
fire a head coach, draft a new quarterback, get rid of the quarterback, hire a new head coach, and just this back and forth thing.
yeah
Yeah.
and just like
And
you
Caleb hasn't looked like the savior that we thought.
he
No,
he
we didn't
like
think,
he
but
can't like they can't protect him. Like there was one play where DJ Moore just gave up.
that was an interesting because it did look like Caleb
Was running
was
out of
going to
bounds.
throw the
Throw
ball
it,
away
yeah.
or run out of bounds.
Yeah.
DJ Moore was following, and then he just went to the
Yeah.
sideline.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
like-
Caleb's escaping.
And
this
that's the
way.
thing too is Caleb tries to extend plays, and because
Yeah,
that's
which
what
is
he did in
good.
college. But it's
Yeah.
like these guys. I mean, he'll take 10-yard sacks sometimes, and it's just like I don't know. We kind of expected this with the Bears. I mean, everybody was like, you need to fire Eberflus before you bring Caleb in because Eberflus was not the solution. You had a chance to hire Cliff Kingsbury. Like Bears fans have turned on Shane Waldron. Like
They want
you need
Ben
to go to Ben
Johnson.
Johnson, give him a blank check, and say,
He wanted to become
yeah,
Bears. So.
say like, please, whatever you want. Like you can have whatever you want. Just come be our coach.
Yeah.
That's their only solution. I mean, you have like Vrabel is. I think he's in Cleveland right now, but it's like
And he's the defensive guy.
yeah, he's a defensive guy, and I think you see now defensive guys are kind of getting filtered out. It's more of these young, smart, offensive-minded guys like McVay and LaFleur, Shanahan that just kind of are just better.
And when you have when you have young quarterbacks, if you're having a defensive minded head coach like Dan Quinn, that's fine. But then you have to have a great offensive coordinator. We said before the season the Bears just didn't have that, and
Yeah,
we're seeing
yeah,
the
like
problems.
looking like in Houston, like the defensive-minded head coach, but you have a very good offensive coordinator. So we'll see what happens with the Bears, but I think there's not a very good way to end that situation with Eberflus.
Yeah. So we'll take a quick break and then we'll do our week 10 preview. And then for the first time, we will have our on the bright side for those teams who have, just 3 wins or less.
All right, we'll start with our Thursday night football game. It's a big one, Ravens Bengals. I think this could be a close game. My bold predictions in this one, so again, I won't talk too much on it.
Yeah, after that, we have Giants Panthers, which is a fun one.
London game, so
Wake up early.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have the Giants winning this game because
Yeah.
I think Daniel Jones looked pretty good.
He's been looking.
But yeah, it could be a fun one because both these teams, like even though the Giants lost, they looked all right against the Commanders. Panthers, I want Bryce Young to succeed.
Yeah.
I really do. I love Xavier Leggett. I think everybody who is just one of the funniest guys and nicest guys in the league. But yeah, I think it could be. I mean, when you first start on the schedule, you're like, ugh, and now it's kind of like, interesting.
Yeah.
So,
We also have the Patriots Bears,
uh,
which is an interesting one as well because the Patriots are very inconsistent, but they don't look awful. They
Uh-huh.
and the Bears have been inconsistent. They don't look
Mhm.
great.
I have the Bears winning 21-18, but it's really tough because, like, I don't know, the Patriots defense, like you said, they look so inconsistent. Drake May, I mean, I was wrong about Drake May. I said I didn't think he was going to be great, and I didn't think it was good to start him. Obviously, he did very well. He had that phenomenal play to tie the game up against Tennessee. But yeah, I have the Bears winning, but I don't know, if they lose, this is just not good. Just if you can't beat the Patriots before you play any divisional games, that's not a good situation to be in.
On the bright side for the Bears, it is a home game.
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah, they don't. I think they don't play a road afternoon game till like December, so that's good.
There you go. 49ers Buccaneers. This is a really fun one. Hopefully we see McCaffrey back.
Yeah. I got the Bucks winning this one. That's all I'll say about this one. But yeah, I don't know. I think McCaffrey will be back, but if they're cautious with him, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Broncos Chiefs divisional game. It's also there's a lot of fun games. I love these.
I got Chiefs 17-14. I think that I don't know. Broncos defense looks okay. The Chiefs still kind of look not great. They have escaped a couple of times. Like I mean, yesterday they escaped, but it's just like I don't know. I think the Chiefs win. Just they find a way to win.
Bills Colts.
Bills win. I have 24-20, but I think it could be worse. I think the only thing the Colts have going for them is that it's at home. I think if it's in Buffalo, it's a blowout. But
I think the Colts are a better team than they show.
yeah, for sure. We'll see how Flacco, assuming Flacco is still the quarterback, which he should be.
And if that defense can capitalize, if they can
that Colts defense looked. I mean, that strip sack by Grover Stewart, he ran through that whole lineman like that was bad.
But if they can force turnovers, that'll be huge to keep them in the game.
It's very hard for to force turnovers for Josh Allen, but
these last 2 weeks he has been.
He has been, yeah.
Yeah, we got the Steelers Commanders. I'm really excited for that.
This one, yeah, I'm excited for that one. I have 21-16 Steelers, but it's gonna come down to like always the Steelers defense. Like, can they contain Jane Daniels?
I love seeing Dan Quinn versus Mike Tomlin. That's really fun.
I think this could be a very my most looking forward to. But Steelers Commanders. I think the Steelers win this one though.
Vikings Jaguars.
20-16 Vikings. The Jaguars, they're 2-7, but they've
been close.
They've been very close so many times. So they could maybe sneak out a win, but I think the Vikings win this one.
Falcons Saints.
Falcons 27-20. Saints are re-energized with a little bit with Dennis Allen not there anymore, but I think the Falcons. Kirk is just. I mean, Kirk and that team they're just going to be more prepared and just a better team.
Titans Chargers. Who knows what we'll do?
I got 28-13 Chargers. I don't think this will be close. I think Harbaugh and Herbert just they know what they are, and yeah, they have some winnable games coming up, and they need to capitalize if they want to keep pace.
Jets Cardinals. Big one.
Big one. I think the Jets win this one. I do. The Cardinals they're so inconsistent, but yeah, the Jets they're coming off a mini bye. They played on Thursday, so they have extra rest, extra preparation.
This is really a game of inconsistency.
It really is, and I think it could go either way, but I think the Jets win this one.
Eagles Cowboys without Dak.
27-20 Eagles. I don't know. Cooper Rush. I was impressed with him. I really was. I thought he threw some really good balls. But the Eagles are just. I don't know. I'm waiting for Sirianni to cost him a game yet, because it's gonna happen. It almost happened on Sunday, but yeah.
That was a fun. It was like 22-0, and then all of a sudden it's like 22-18. It's like, well, what happened? Yeah. Lions Texans.
I got 28-17 Lions. I don't know. The Texans are so beat up. I mean, they went.
Stroud hasn't looked good.
Stroud hasn't looked good.
Their
O-line is bad. He got sacked 8 times last week.
Mm-hmm. They don't seem to have the same type of energy and magic that they did last year.
No, and I mean, Nico's. I mean, you're down to your top 2 receivers, so like that's. I mean, it's not an excuse that players get hurt, but it's just like you just don't look the same. So they really need to rely on that defense. If you can't get to Jared Goff and pressure him, you're not gonna beat the Lions easily.
And Dolphins Rams.
I got the Dolphins winning this one, actually. I think they finally break through 23-20. They're due. They're really due for a win after some tough losses.
Yeah. All right, so now for both predictions. My first one is actually in that last game, the Dolphins-Rams. I have Tua getting 4 total touchdowns.
He's played well. I mean, ever since he's come back, he's played well. He's protected himself. So, he's looked pretty
Yeah,
good.
slip and slide.
Yeah, my first prediction is Bengals beat the Ravens. I have them 38-35.
Ooh.
The thing is with the Ravens, it's like it's it's a shootout every game. Like their
Mm-hmm.
defense is not the best, but they can score 30, 40 points
Yeah.
comfortably every game.
Yeah. Broncos are going to give the Chiefs their first loss.
I hope so. I don't know.
Of course you
Bo
do.
Nix. I don't know. Bo Nix is. I gotta give credit to Sean Payton too. Like Bo Nix has looked pretty comfortable, and looks like their guy. For their record is I don't think they're a year or two away from the playoffs. I don't know if they'll make it this year. We'll see. But yeah, I think uh, again the Chiefs are just kind of getting away with a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But my second one is the Bucks walk off field goal versus the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
That could be fun.
it could. Yeah, the Niners are just I don't know. I'm kind of more leaning towards McCaffrey maybe not playing. I think they might just be careful with him.
I'm really going back and forth with my last bowl prediction because I want to have the Jags being the Vikings somehow. But I'm gonna go in a different way for my bowl prediction for a different game. We're gonna have our first tie this
Oh,
season. It will be the Steelers Commanders game. It will end in a tie.
interesting.
Yeah, that's my last bowl prediction. And now for the game you're most looking forward to.
Mm,
I'm looking forward to the Cardinals Jets. I want to see which team is
yeah.
looking less inconsistent.
Yeah, I said Steelers Commanders, and I think that one's gonna be really fun, even
Yeah.
though it's a noon game. But I think like both primetime
Potentially.
game, like all the primetime games, could be fun.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, and like we said, for not this week but the next week, the Jets got flexed out because we've gotten a lot of complaints about the Jets being in
yeah,
primetime every week. The Jets got flexed out of a primetime game for that Chargers Bengals game, so
yeah,
Sunday Night Football. But again, that's next week. So now on the bright side, there are a lot of teams that aren't doing well,
yeah.
and there's a lot of teams that are doing well, but these teams aren't. And so we're gonna just kind of go through quick and what do you have to look forward to? So we're gonna start off with the New York Jets, who are 3-6. What's the bright side?
I mean, you have the talent there. You really do. Offensively, you have Garrett Wilson, Devontae Rogers, obviously. Brees Hall's looked pretty good. Your O line has been inconsistent, but I just Rogers needs to find that spark again. He just looks so defeated up until their win. But I think I really think like if they for somehow get a blowout win against the Cardinals, that could do a lot for them.
Yeah.
So I think you have to realize that you have talent there, and that's promising.
Yeah, and I would say you're not out of it yet. You know, it's really hard when your your team's out of
Yeah.
the playoff race or like it's like completely
Mm-hmm.
unlikely and then it's hard to like have any energy and look good even you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like but you're not out of it. They have something to fight for still and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's huge. Miami Dolphins 2-6. I mean, 2 is looking great
Yeah.
and he's come back from the injury looking better than maybe ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that, and just the combined with the fact that your division is not good.
And about
Us-
AJ.
HN looks good, but yeah, Buffalo is the only team in that division that looks good.
For those winning games.
Yeah, because the Dolphins just really unfortunate. But yeah, Tua's looked good. HN has looked good. So I think that like there were definitely some question marks when Tua got hurt. Like, oh, is he still like our guy? And that probably is what you were most looking forward to. Is like he's still your guy. You know
Yeah.
he is, even if you don't have anything this year. You can
The
just
future.
chalk it up to unfortunate injury and look forward to next year. But they could still make a playoff run.
Yeah. All right, Patriots 2-7. You find your guy in Drake
Yep,
May.
you
That's
have.
that's the bright side. And he's it's not just like oh he's showing promise. I mean you can see that this guy can be a leader.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just think that you need to kind of look forward to that. Realize that you're not going to win a lot of games. I know Patriots fans have wanted to lose games to get a higher draft pick, but I don't know, like different culture there after Bill Belichick has moved on. But yeah, you found your guy, and you just need to build around him.
Raiders 2-7. I would say that despite losing Devontae, despite having a new head coach, despite 3 different quarterback changes, that you still have grit and fight in this locker room.
Yeah.
You know, you still have guys who are really showing that effort of one win. I don't think they've lost their edge yet. Completely,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I think that like you see it like with the carousel and with some guys leaving, that teams just kind of like fold and like give up.
Yeah.
I credit a lot of credit to Max Crosby. Like it would be so easy to be like, I don't want to be here. I know contenders would want me. But he has stuck with with them.
He's ready for
Um,
life.
I don't. It's I'm yeah, a lot of credit to him because I think that's a really tough situation to be in. But like you said, new head coach. Um, if you don't lose your locker room and you keep the guys together, right, that goes a long way for your future.
Cleveland Browns 2-7.
Hmm.
I think that
It's
what's
tough.
I think the bright side is that this year we are finally seeing clearly where the problems or the main problems lay,
Yeah,
and so that you can finally do something, hopefully make the right decision and do something about that, as opposed to we don't know what the problem is, so we're not really going to do anything. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They can actually make like a big change this offseason.
yeah. I just think it's really tough with like Deshaun Watson. Like just when you gave him that contract, you kind of were like, this has to work out. You're kind of not gonna bode well if you in the future. But yeah, I just think like you said, there. I would hope they know where the problems are because it's pretty evident. Um, yeah, but I don't know if they move on from Stefanski yet. But we'll see what happens. It's the Browns organization, so I wouldn't be shocked if by anything they do.
I really like Andrew Berry, their GM. He's a really smart guy, and I like Kevin Stefanski. I think he's great. I just think it might be time for a fresh voice. That's kind of where I'm at. But Tennessee Titans 2-6.
Um, I don't know. It's like
You have a new head coach. You weren't a young
yeah.
quarterback, right?
You're just it's I don't know. Like Levis has not looked great. I think that like I don't know. Maybe you kind of know like very similar to the Browns. Like kind of know where some problems are and when you
Mm-hmm.
need to improve. I think Levis can improve a lot still.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I just think that I mean yeah
I think that it's huge that the Titans. I think okay. Well, I think from what I can tell, it looks like the Titans are showing promise in their head coach. Where
mm,
when they waffle right away on their new head coach and their quarterback, then it's like the organization just looks like
yeah.
they're a mess. So that would be my thing. But Jaguars are 2-7.
Like we said that like that some of them
They're
games have just been
close.
so close. Like they lost to the Packers on a game winning field goal. They could have beat the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And kind of, and I mean, starting with week one, like literally,
yeah
it's just been every, and kind of like the Jets, they have a lot of talent.
yeah they do. They have a very Brian Robinson, like their star um wide receiver. Like obviously Christian Kirk went down with an injury. That kind of sucks. But you have talent. You have pieces. Tank Bigsby's looked really good.
Yeah,
Um,
not this week.
no, not this week, but ever since ETN went down, he's looked pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't. I think that they would benefit from a fresh start with Peterson. With I don't know with Doug Peterson leaving, but I don't know. But yeah, I don't think Trevor. Um, yeah, he got his contract, but I think they're in a better situation than like the Cowboys are with Dak. A lot better. But yeah, just think they've been close, and they just need to realize that they're only a couple plays away, realistically, from being a much better team record wise.
Yeah. Cowboys are 3-5, and this one's interesting because honestly, the Dak injury might be the worst thing that happened to them, and I don't mean because now it's unlikely for them to win, but because now McCarthy might not get fired because it's like, oh, Dak missed 4 games,
Yeah.
and so they might not have a big change again. Like you could
Mm.
see that, but what is the bright side for the Cowboys?
I do think the bright side is that McCarthy's in a contract year. I don't see him in any way returning. I think that like they've looked so bad
Yeah.
before. I don't think. I just think that they haven't fired him because it doesn't accomplish anything. It's not like he's under contract next year. I just
Yeah,
I,
that is the bright side
the thing
probably.
that kind of I would say scares me should scare Cowboys fans is if you start to win some games with Cooper Rush, then McCarthy's back and you're like I don't know. I
And
don't.
then what do you do with Dak that you just paid?
Yeah.
Or if they went with Trey Lance, if they would decide to go Trey
Yeah.
Lance.
Because you've invested a lot of draft capital in Trey Lance. You have. So I don't know. We'll see what they do, but I think the bright side is that McCarthy's in a contract year, and you could hopefully get a fresh start.
New York Giants 2-7. I think Daniel Jones has looked better this season. Where even if
Hmm.
you don't keep him, you can get some value from him.
I think they'll keep. I don't know. he's looked better. I think
I
the
don't want them to keep him. I want him to get a fresh
for a
start
fresh
somewhere
start.
else. He deserves it. I don't want him with
I
Broncos.
think that they need to make a decision between Dable and Daniel Jones. They can't coincide. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the biggest thing. Um, they've just been really unfortunate with unfortunate. It's their fault, I should
Mm-hmm.
say, that they let Saquon go. They let Xavier McKinney go. And I know Giants fans are seeing there, and McKinney's getting a pick every week. Saquon's having 2 touchdowns. It's probably really unfortunate, but yeah, I mean I think the bright side is that you kind of are heading toward hopefully a breakup between Dable and Daniel Jones.
Panthers 2-7. I think the bright side is one, you weren't expected to win a
Mm-mm.
lot of games this year, and two, you already have as many wins as you did by the end of last
Yeah,
season. We're only halfway through.
I think I really just hope they give Bryce Young another shot because like I get it's the Saints. It's not a great team, but like you're not expected to win. I think it's a different situation. Like if you look at the Colts have a better roster than the Panthers do. Like that's kind of why they moved off of Richardson. Where it's like Bryce Young, it's like you're not going to succeed in that situation he's in. And
They're more of a selling team right now. The Colts aren't necessarily.
exactly. And the Colts actually, I mean, Texans lost to the Jets, so the Colts are could very much still win that division if
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they have some really tough games. I think they have like the Bills, Jets, and Lions 3 straight weeks, so that's kind of rough. But yeah, I just think that yeah, you're young, new head coach. You weren't expected to do well, and you kind of like are hopefully a gradual increase, but you're set up well for the future. I think.
And the Saints 2-7. You got the head start
Yeah.
on your fresh start early, so
Hmm.
I think that's huge.
Yeah, I mean your cap situation is great, but I think that's the big thing is you fired Dennis Allen. You realized where the biggest problem is,
Mm-hmm.
and these next couple weeks you can kind of evaluate really where your team is, because some guys are just not bought in right now, and I think Dennis Allen had a lot to do with that.
Yeah. All right, well that's it. Week 10 is upon us. Home stretch. The Seahawks, Packers, Raiders, and Browns are on the bye. Got a lot of great games this week, and we'll see you next week.